the Anunnaki gods and the mystery of the lost ark and extraterrestrial legacy? Throughout history, there have been relics that have redefined the boundaries between faith, myth, and science. But perhaps none have been shrouded in as much mystery as the Ark of the Covenant. Described in the Bible as a sacred box of acacia wood, expertly gilded, bearing the divine writings of the tablets of the law, this artifact represents more than a symbol of Jewish faith. For some, it is the key to forbidden knowledge, a gateway to a cosmic past that defies our comprehension. What really is the Ark? Is it just a sacred relic? Or is it an object of immeasurable power, hidden from the eyes of the world to protect secrets that could change the course of humanity? Conspiracy theories, ancient texts, and archaeological discoveries weave a fascinating tale spanning millennia, linking the stories of the Bible to the enigmatic Anunnaki, gods of Sumer, who some claim were extraterrestrial beings. From the destructive lightning bolts said to emanate from the Ark to tales of its power to communicate with the heavens, this relic has witnessed events that seem to transcend our mere perception of reality. Those who have come close to its mystery have paid a terrible price. Is it a lost technology, a divine weapon, or perhaps even a bridge between dimensions? That is the question that remains. In this story, we will explore not only the connection between the Ark and biblical tradition, but also how Sumerian legends about the Anunnaki open the door to a fascinating theory, that the sacred relic may instead be advanced technology left in the care of humans by a much superior civilization. Together, we will decipher the symbols, explore the places where it is supposedly hidden, from Solomon's temple to the mysterious church of Axum, and follow in the footsteps of the archaeologists who risked everything to uncover the truth. But remember, where truth meets myth, the unknown begins. The story of the lost Ark is not just about an artifact, it's about the courage to look beyond what we know and question the very nature of reality. So prepare to embark on a journey of mystery, a journey that begins now and ends somewhere among the stars that watch over us. The night was shrouding the city of Jerusalem in silence, but beneath the apparent calm, a drama unfolded like no other in the history of the people of Israel. It was 586 BC, and the Babylonian army, led by the feared Nebuchadnezzar II, had surrounded the holy city. Flames lit up the walls of Solomon's temple, casting dancing shadows on the stones that had witnessed so many prayers and sacrifices. Inside the temple, chaos reigned. The priests, dressed in their sacred vestments, ran in panic, trying to save the most precious relics. In the middle of the holy place, the Ark of the Covenant, covered in dazzling gold, stood surrounded by an aura of mystery. The priests knew that this object was not just a box. It was something more. Something dangerous. It was said that anyone who touched it without divine permission died instantly, and stories of its power had spread to the surrounding kingdoms. "We must protect it at all costs," cried High Priest Azariah, his voice trembling with desperation. "If it falls into the hands of the Babylonians, the curse of the Lord will fall on us all." A group of Levites carefully lifted the Ark, their hands trembling under the physical and spiritual weight of the artifact. The light of the flames that penetrated through the opening in the door seemed to dance on the golden surface, transforming the Ark into a living, almost conscious presence. A secret mission. In a corner of the room, a young priest named Elier watched everything with an expression of wonder and fear. He had always been fascinated by the Ark, but never had he been so close to it. That night, however, he would learn that the story of the Ark hid something that only a few people in the entire world knew. High Priest Azariah called Elier and spoke to him in a low but determined voice. "Son, what you will hear now must not be shared with anyone. The Ark is not just a symbol of our covenant with God. It is a relic of immeasurable power. In the wrong hands, it could destroy all of humanity." Elier held his breath. But what kind of power? Azariah looked at him intently, his eyes burning with tears and a fear that seemed centuries old. "I cannot tell you everything. But know that the power of the Ark comes from a place beyond the heavens. Our ancestors were taught how to build it by beings that only prophets dared to speak of. Within it is the fire of heaven, an energy that only the pure can control. If the Babylonians find it, we are lost." But Azariah did not finish his sentence. from outside, the cries of the Babylonian warriors echoed like thunder. The walls of the temple were shaking under the blows of battering rams and catapults. There was no time left. Behind the holy altar was a secret hatch, known only to the highest priests. It led to a long tunnel dug deep into the earth, which emerged several kilometers from the city. Azariah knew that this was the only chance to save the Arkansas. With the help of the Levites, the ark was carried through the tunnel, but as they descended, something strange began to happen. The light emanating from the ark became more intense. A faint noise, like a metallic hum, seemed to fill the air, although no one could say where it was coming from. Some of the Levites began to whisper prayers, convinced that they were witnessing a divine manifestation. Eliar walked last, carrying a flickering lamp in his hand. In a moment of inattention, he tripped and fell, the lamp falling to the stone floor. The flame went out, and absolute darkness enveloped them. At that moment, a blinding flash of lightning shot from the ark, illuminating the tunnel like day. The Levites cried out in fear, but Azariah raised his hands, calming them. "Do not be afraid. It is only a warning. The ark knows it is in danger." After hours of walking through the darkness, the group reached the end of the tunnel, where several covered wagons awaited them. Azariah gave precise instructions, but not to all of them. Only 2 of the Levites knew the ark's final destination. The rest were to be directed elsewhere, to mislead anyone who tried to follow it. Eliar, however, sensed something was strange. Before he left, he watched Azariah take the ark in his hands, muttering a strange prayer. Suddenly, a series of unfamiliar symbols lit up on the gilded surface, as if someone had etched them with fire. Eliar had never seen them before, but they seemed strange and unnaturally precise. "What are those symbols?" he asked in a low voice. Azariah turned to him, an expression of deep sadness. "They are a language of the stars, my son. A language we are not meant to understand, but only to respect." The cart set off in silence, and the priests parted ways. For days, weeks, and years, stories of the ark disappeared from official accounts. Had it been hidden somewhere safe? Or had it been taken far away, perhaps even outside the kingdom? Azariah took his secret with him to the grave, but Eliar never forgot the strange symbols and the strange sound that seemed to come from deep within the Arkansas. Years later, Eliar tried to understand more about what he had seen. He found references in ancient texts, not only from Hebrew tradition, but also from Sumerian legends, which spoke of a box of heavenly fire. The stories seemed to indicate that this relic was older than the people of Israel, older even than Solomon's temple. But then, what was the ark really? And, more importantly, where is it now? These questions would remain unanswered for generations, but their shadows would haunt anyone who approached the mystery of the lost Arkansas. The Anunnaki connection. When it comes to the Ark of the Covenant, most of the stories are anchored in biblical texts. However, a hidden thread of history leads to much older legends, from a time when gods walked among men. In the mysteries written on Sumerian clay tablets and in the stories of the Anunnaki, the mysterious gods of Sumer, details appear that defy the boundaries of logic and belief. Was the Ark more than a religious relic? Was it an alien technology, a legacy left to humans by these beings from the heavens? Discoveries hidden in the Sumerian tablets. In the 1930s, an archaeologist named Frederick Huntington discovered a set of tablets in a Sumerian tomb that, after being translated, shook the academic community. The tablets contain details of a sacred vessel known as Uar-Uak, an object capable of controlling heavenly fire and opening gates to unseen realms. The description was eerily similar to that of the Ark of the Covenant. The 2 figures carved on the ark's lid, the cherubim, recalled the Anunnaki depicted in Sumerian frescoes, imposing beings with massive wings and hypnotic gazes. Was it possible that the biblical stories had absorbed and reinterpreted a much older artifact, one related to these enigmatically advanced deities? Furthermore, the text suggested that the Uar-Uak was used to maintain contact with those beyond the stars. In one damaged section, it speaks of an object that emitted a blinding light and a deafening noise when activated, descriptions that bear a striking resemblance to the biblical accounts of the Arkansas. Could this Sumerian holy vessel be the prototype or origin of the Ark? The Anunnaki, gods, or cosmic engineers? In Sumerian mythology, the Anunnaki are described as gods who descended to Earth from a mysterious planet, Nibiru, according to modern interpretations. They supposedly created humanity to serve as a labor force, and in return, they taught humans the secrets of agriculture, construction, and metallurgy. But one aspect rarely discussed in the ancient texts is related to their holy gifts, tools, and artifacts that seem to defy the technology of the time. One such gift would have been the Ark, a creation that incorporated a technology that was impossible for the people of that time to understand. A long-lost tablet, but preserved in fragmentary copies, mentions an object that contained the essence of the heavens and could control natural phenomena. The possessor of this object can call down rain or lightning, but must be pure in heart, for the object knows the intentions of the bearer. The powers attributed to the biblical Ark are remarkably similar. The Israelites are said to have used the Ark in battles, and when it was carried before them, enemies were defeated as if an invisible force had struck them. The most famous story, the collapse of the walls of Jericho, suggests an energy capable of destroying massive structures. Was the Ark a weapon of extraterrestrial origin, capable of manipulating frequencies and sound waves to bring down walls? The Ark, a gateway to another world? According to alternative theories, the Ark was not just an advanced technology, but a tool that connected Earth to other dimensions. In Sumerian culture, the gates between the worlds, known as the Abzu, were guarded by the Anunnaki. Could the Ark have been such a tool, a device capable of creating a bridge between dimensions? The Bible makes several references to the Ark as an object of direct communication with God. Whenever Moses approached the Ark, a thick cloud covered the camp and the Lord spoke to him from the midst of the cloud. Is it possible that this cloud was more of a technological manifestation than a divine one? Furthermore, some ancient Ethiopian sources, such as the Kebra Nagast, claim that the Ark contained the eternal light of the heavens, a phenomenon that the priests of Axum claim can still be observed on certain nights. Legend has it that anyone who looks at this light is witnessing a higher realm, inaccessible to ordinary people. If the Ark is an interdimensional gateway, this could explain the stories of people dying when they tried to touch it. It would not have been divine punishment, but exposure to an energy field that was devastating to the human body. The mysteries of Axum and the secret kept for centuries. In the 14th century, an Ethiopian monk named Tesfaye wrote a manuscript describing a viewing of a secret ceremony in the Church of St. Mary of Zion. Tesfaye claims to have seen the custodian of the Ark, the only person authorized to approach the relic, enter a secret chamber beneath the altar. After the custodian emerged, Tesfaye noticed that the old man was trembling and had tears in his eyes, as if he had witnessed a miracle or a nightmare. The manuscript hints at something even more disturbing. Inside the chamber, beneath the Ark, was the door engraved with symbols of light, leading to unknown places. Tesfaye was not believed, and his story was dismissed as a fabrication. But his descriptions coincide with other accounts of unexplained lights around the church and sounds that cannot be explained by modern technology. The mystery continues. The Ark of the Covenant is not just a symbol of the covenant between man and God, it is an artifact that seems to link the biblical stories to the ancient legends of the Anunnaki. It is possible that this object is a key to understanding our origins, a legacy left by beings who walked the earth thousands of years before the first lines of the Bible were written. But questions persist. Is the Ark hidden in Axum, guarded by a religious order that knows the truth? Or has it been hidden elsewhere, inaccessible until humanity is ready to understand? And if it is, indeed, alien technology, who will find it and what will they do with it? In the search for the Ark, the boundaries between myth and reality become increasingly blurred. Perhaps the answer lies not in the past, but in a future where humans will be prepared to decipher the messages of the gods. Axum and the Guardian Monk. In the heart of Ethiopia, in the ancient city of Axum, lies a place shrouded in sacred silence and mystery, the Church of St. Mary of Zion. For centuries, it has been considered the sanctuary where the Ark of the Covenant, the holy relic of the Bible, is kept safe. Stories say that only one man, the custodian of the Ark, is allowed to approach this artifact. However, the questions surrounding this relic are not just religious in nature. What really lies beyond the doors of that sealed chamber? The inhabitants of Axum speak with fear and reverence of mysterious lights that rise from the church on moonless nights. They say that sometimes a strange sound, a kind of low, continuous vibration, echoes from the depths of the church, as if something alive were there. For those who believe, these phenomena are proof of divine power. For skeptics, they are just stories to scare children. But for the curious, like archaeologist and theologian Professor Daniel Wayland, they hold the key to a mystery that could change the course of human history. The burden of the monk custodian. In a small room on the edge of the church lives the custodian, an elderly monk known only as Abba Johannes. For decades, he has dedicated his life to the preservation of the Arkansas. No one, not even other priests, is allowed to enter the room where the relic is said to be kept. Only he can open the door, and that happens extremely rarely, only for secret rituals. Abba Johannes speaks little, but those who have had the opportunity to listen to him say that sometimes, during his prayers, he seems to be in dialogue with something unseen. Sometimes, during the night, those near the church claim to have heard sounds coming from the sealed chamber, a deep vibration, followed by whispers, as if someone were speaking from within. One evening, a young priest, who had dared to ask more about the Ark, received a cryptic answer from Abba Johannes. "You are not ready to know the truth. The Ark is not what you think. It is a burden, not a gift. And what is in it is alive." The priest left in a state of shock, and has never addressed the subject since. Unexplained phenomena. Reports of lights and sounds have attracted the attention of curious researchers. In 1974, a French journalist, Jean-Luc Moreau, attempted to investigate the phenomena surrounding the church. He obtained permission to spend several nights near the sanctuary. In his diary, Moreau describes an experience that changed his life. On the third night, around 3 a.m., I saw a bluish light coming out of the church dome. It was a light that seemed to pulse, as if it had a life of its own. I felt a deep vibration in the air, penetrating my chest and making my heart beat chaotically. It was as if the earth itself was breathing. I wanted to approach, but an overwhelming sense of fear held me still. That light was not natural. The next day, Moreau tried to ask Abba Johannes about what he had seen. The custodian stared at him with a warning expression. "If you had seen more, you would not have returned alive. The light you saw is a barrier. It protects the world from what lies beyond the door." The connection with the heavens. Ancient Ethiopian manuscripts, such as the Kabra Negast, tell of the Ark's arrival in Ethiopia, brought by Menelik I, son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. What is rarely mentioned, however, is a cryptic passage that describes the Ark not just as a sacred object, but as a torch of the heavens. Those who prayed near the Ark are said to have felt their minds filled with strange visions, falling stars, luminous figures speaking to them in unknown languages, and images of otherworldly places. An adjacent text, discovered in the 19th century by German missionaries, mentions that a 14th century monk had a vision while standing near the Arkansas. He described how the door to heaven opened and saw giant, glowing beings who told him that the Ark was a gift to protect humanity from the fire that burns in the heavens. These beings bear a striking resemblance to the Anunnaki depicted in Sumerian mythology. The secret chamber under the altar. While many visitors to the Church of St. Mary of Zion are content to see the exterior of the building, few know that there is a secret chamber beneath the main altar. Reports of this chamber are sparse, but an Ethiopian legend claims that there is more there than the Arkansas. Beneath the altar, there is a network of tunnels leading to a large room, which is said to contain ancient documents, cult objects, and, according to some theories, evidence of a lost technology. An anonymous monk, who allegedly witnessed a secret ceremony, wrote in a now-lost manuscript, "In that room, the priests activated a flameless light, and the air became dense, as if the entire room had been sealed off from the rest of the world. I heard sounds that seemed to come from unknown realms and saw shadows dancing on the walls, though no one was there." Axum continues to be a place of unanswered questions. Is the Ark hidden there, guarded by the silent monk and the strange light that protects it? Or is the whole story a cover for an even more disturbing truth, that what we call the Ark is a lost technology, a relic of a civilization from beyond the stars? As the shadows of night fall over Axum, the mysterious light seems to rise again. But for those watching, one question remains. Is this light a sign of divine protection or a warning? A modern-day Indiana Jones. In a modern world, where the mysteries of the past seem locked away in forgotten museums or archives, there are few who dare to seek answers to questions considered taboo. Professor Marcus Havlock, a maverick archaeologist and self-taught theologian, was one of these men. Renowned for his controversial ideas, Havlock firmly believed that the Ark of the Covenant was not just a religious relic, but an advanced technology bequeathed to humanity by a superior civilization. For him, finding the Ark was not just an academic pursuit, it was an obsession. With a reputation tarnished by the traditional academic community, Marcus had spent the past few decades pursuing fragments of ancient texts and artifacts that seemed to indicate that the sacred relic hid much more than the biblical accounts suggested. After years of fruitless research and expeditions, a lost manuscript found in a remote monastery in Ethiopia would open a path to unsuspected truths. The Ethiopian priest's manuscript. In 2022, Marcus received a tip from an old contact in Addis Ababa. It was a forgotten manuscript written by a 12th century Ethiopian priest that mentioned an artifact called the encapsulated light. The description was shockingly similar to the biblical legends of the Ark, but it contained details that Marcus had never encountered before. In its fragile pages, the manuscript spoke of a relic hidden beneath the altar of the Church of St. Mary of Zion, guarded by a guardian sworn to never let the world see the fire hidden in the darkness. But what caught Marcus's attention was a marginal note, written in a different hand much later. This light is not of man, but of those who came from heaven. They taught us how to use it, but warned us that this knowledge must be kept hidden. The manuscript also suggested that the Ark had properties that transcended any logical explanation. It was described as having an energy that breathed and thought. At times, the relic seemed to react to the presence of people, as if it could read their intentions. These details gave Marcus a chilling idea. Was the Ark a form of artificial intelligence? The journey to Axum. Convinced that the manuscript held the key to discovering the truth, Marcus packed his bags and headed for Ethiopia. But as he approached Axum, the mystery deepened. The locals spoke fearfully of the Church of St. Mary of Zion, describing inexplicable phenomena, lights piercing the sky on clear nights, sounds like underground roars, and shadows that seemed to move through the churchyard, although no one was there. When Marcus arrived at the church, he was greeted by cold, suspicious looks. The custodian, an old monk with strange blue eyes, refused him immediate access. "The Ark is guarded by the Lord. It is not for your eyes," he told him in a deep voice. But Marcus knew he could not give up. He was convinced that his manuscript contained a series of clues that could open the way to the truth. All he needed was time. The clues hidden in the manuscript. For weeks, Marcus scrutinized the manuscript, searching for any sign that would help him enter the sealed chamber. Late one night, as he flipped through the fragile pages again, he noticed something he had previously missed. A symbol etched almost invisibly into the edge of one of the pages. The symbol was a circle surrounded by zigzag lines, similar to Sumerian representations of divine portals. Written beneath the symbol was a cryptic message: "The key is the psalm. The waves open the gates." This discovery gave Marcus a disturbing idea. If the Ark was truly an advanced technology, perhaps it was not the physical door that needed to be opened. Perhaps there was a frequency, a specific sound that could activate the relic. On a moonless night, Marcus sneaked into the churchyard. Armed with a sound frequency analyzer that he had modified specifically for this mission, he approached the main altar. When he turned on the device, he was greeted by a barely perceptible sound, a low vibration that seemed to come from the ground. It was as if the entire building was breathing. Marcus adjusted the frequencies, searching for an answer. Suddenly, the air around him became charged with electricity. A faint light began to pulse from the altar, and the sound intensified. At that moment, he heard a deafening noise, like thunder, and a door hidden in the floor slowly opened. Marcus slowly descended the narrow steps that led to an underground chamber. What he found there left him speechless. In the center of the chamber stood the Ark, a golden box, just as described in the Bible, but larger than he had expected. Its surface seemed to be alive, pulsing with a faint light, like the breathing of a living organism. As he approached, he felt a surge of energy hit him, as if his very mind was being read. He was overcome with visions, collapsing stars, giant figures with glowing eyes, unknown realms that defied every law of physics. In those moments, he understood the Ark was not just a religious artifact. It was a gateway, a link between Earth and another dimension. But before he could do more, he felt a presence in the room. It was Abba Johannes, looking at him with an expression somewhere between fear and anger. "You do not understand what you have done," the custodian told him. "The Ark is not for humans. It is a seal that holds a force that the world cannot control." The light from the Ark began to grow, and the room shook. Marcus, terrified, fled, leaving everything behind. When he emerged, he watched as the light from the church rose skyward, a blinding pillar tearing through the darkness. The people of Axum came out into the streets, staring in amazement, but no one dared to approach. That night, Marcus left Axum, knowing he could not share what he had seen. And yet, deep down, he knew that his discovery was only the beginning. The Ark was no mere artifact, it was the key to a cosmic mystery that defied the boundaries of time and space. But the question remained, what power was sealed within the Ark, and what would happen if it were released? The hidden truth. After Marcus Havlock returned to the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, he was a shadow of the man who had set out to search for the Arkansas. His experience in Axum had transformed him. No one knew what he had found there, but his gaze, filled with deep unease, made those around him keep their distance. What he had seen beneath the altar of the Church of St. Mary of Zion defied reason. The Ark was not just a relic. It was something far more dangerous. But Marcus knew he could not let it all be lost to oblivion. In the archives of manuscripts he had studied before his journey, there were clues to other locations where the Ark had been seen or duplicates of it had been created. A nagging question constantly echoed in his mind: was the Ark of Axum the original, or just a copy designed to protect the real relic? Encoded documents from the 13th century. A few days after his return, Marcus was approached by a mysterious figure dressed in a long black robe. The man left him a sealed envelope on the table in the cafe where he was. Without saying a word, the mysterious figure disappeared into the crowd. The envelope contained a single sheet of paper, written in an elegant but urgent hand: "The truth is not complete in Axum. Seek the secret scriptures of the Vatican. Seek the Codex Salomonis." Although Marcus was skeptical about the message, the name Codex Salomonis intrigued him. He had come across this reference before in an old text in the Oxford Library, but at that time it had been treated as an apocryphal work, too fantastical to be taken seriously. This codex was supposedly written by descendants of King Solomon, describing in detail the power of the Ark and its connections to the light from heaven. The problem was that this document had been lost for centuries, or so it was believed. But what if the Codex Salomonis had not been lost, but hidden? The journey to the Vatican. Using his contacts in academia and some old debts, Marcus gained access to the Vatican secret archives. Although it was not a place open to the general public, rumors of the strange and forbidden texts kept there were well known. After days of insistence and tense meetings with church officials, Marcus was granted limited access to a specific section, only to discover that the archives were much more extensive than he could have ever imagined. On the massive shelves, which stretched for miles, Marcus discovered a small collection of manuscripts labeled with the name Solomon. There, among the yellowed pages and almost faded ink, he found a fragment that took his breath away. A passage from the Codex Salomonis read, "The twin light is the key to the gate. It comes from beyond the stars, but man cannot understand its fire without being consumed. It was given to the king to bind the earth to the heavens, but only the righteous can bear its song. This text spoke of an activation mechanism for the ark that involved a twinned light and a song. It was a confirmation of what Marcus had experienced in Axum when sound and light had triggered the opening of the secret door. But the following passages terrified him. When the gate is opened without the right call, the shadows of those who created the light will return. The fire will consume not only the body, but the sky itself. Who were the shadows, and what kind of fire could consume the sky? The shadow of the Anunnaki. As Marcus delved deeper into his research, a disturbing connection began to emerge. The accounts of the ark were not unique. The texts in the Codex Salomones mentioned beings called those in the stars, who left light as a gift to humans. The descriptions of these beings were strikingly similar to those of the Anunnaki of Sumerian mythology, tall, shining, and possessing a technology that humans had interpreted as magical or divine. Another cryptic passage in the Codex read, "The stars have given us power, but they have warned us, do not use the light to open the gate. For beyond the gate are those who watch. They know no mercy." This was a terrifying revelation. If the ark was indeed an alien technology, its original purpose had not been to bring protection, but to seal away a threat. Perhaps the connection with God, as described in the Bible, was not a direct communication, but rather a barrier that kept out a much greater power. Return to Axum. Convinced that what he had discovered was only part of the truth, Marcus decided to return to Axum. But this time, his journey was being followed. During a stopover in a village on the edge of Ethiopia, he was approached by a group of men wearing strange symbols on their clothes. They told him that they represented a centuries-old order, the Guardians of Light, who guarded the secrets of the Arkansas. "You will not find the answers you seek, Professor," the leader of the group, a tall, stern-featured man, told him. "The Ark is a seal. And what lies beyond the seal is not for humans. If you open it again, you will bring about the end." Marcus had been warned to abandon his research, but now it was too late. He was too close to the truth, and he could not turn back. He continued on his way to Axum, although deep down he felt that he was approaching a discovery that could cost him not only his life, but also his sanity. The final discovery. At the church, Marcus tried to gain access to the sealed chamber again, but Abba Johannes greeted him with the same firmness. "You have learned nothing, Marcus. You have no right to approach what is guarded here. Leave before the fire consumes you." But that night, something unexpected happened. A bright light pierced the sky above the church, brighter than anything Marcus had seen before. The earth shook, and the deep sound of a vibration filled the air. Marcus knew that he did not have much time left. In those moments, he realized that the answers he sought were not only to be found in the past. The Ark was no mere lost artifact, but a connecting point between two worlds, a seal that protected humanity from a power that even the stars could not control. But the question remained, was Marcus ready to reveal what lay beyond the light? Interdimensional journey. When the Ark of the Covenant was activated, time and space ceased to have any meaning. The intense light that pierced the sky above Axum engulfed the entire church in an eerie aura, and Marcus Havlock felt reality itself crumbling around him. It was a moment when every particle in his body seemed to be pulled in every direction, but his mind remained lucid, caught between panic and fascination. A deep, almost organic roar seemed to vibrate from the Ark, and the air was suffused with a metallic smell, as if the entire room had been consumed by an invisible energy. Marcus, blinded by the light, felt the ground beneath his feet disappear. And then, everything changed. Beyond the gate. When Marcus regained his senses, he found himself in a place that defied all logical description. The sky was a vortex of brilliant colors, twisting and flowing like rivers of liquid light. Beneath his feet, the ground seemed translucent, like a surface of living crystal that pulsed slowly, as if it had its own heart. The atmosphere was heavy but not stifling, and seemed to vibrate with every movement. In the distance, huge, indistinct shapes floated in the air. They were anthropomorphic in shape, but their proportions were impossible to comprehend. They seemed to be made of light and shadow, their movements defying gravity. Marcus realized he was in a place not meant for humans, a dimension beyond known reality. A deep noise, like a choir singing a single, continuous note, began to fill the space. Marcus covered his ears, but the sound was not coming from outside. It was echoing in his mind. And then, a distinct voice broke from this noise, a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. You are unprepared. But you are here. The guardian of the dimension. Before Marcus, a figure materialized from the vortex of colors. It was a massive being, glowing in a bluish light, with eyes that seemed to contain miniature galaxies. Instead of clear facial features, the figure had a fluid, constantly changing shape. Every movement seemed to leave a trail of light in space. Who are you? Marcus managed to ask, his voice trembling. The being looked at him without speaking, but in his mind, the words formed clearly, I am the guardian. I am not a being, but a manifestation of the veil that separates the realms. The Ark is created by those who came before. It was meant to protect, but you humans have forgotten its purpose. Marcus gathered his courage. What does the Ark protect? What is here? The guardian hesitated, and the vortex around them darkened for a moment. Beyond the gate, there are those who have never been mentioned in your histories. They are creators, but also destroyers. The Ark is a seal that prevents their influence from spilling into your realm. Once opened, the balance is broken. Visions from beyond. As the guardian spoke, Marcus began to see images that seemed to be projected directly into his mind. Visions of the past, of ancient civilizations building vast monuments under the guidance of luminous beings. Pyramids, temples, stone circles, all appeared before him, but their purpose was different from what he had learned so far. These structures were more than monuments, they were anchors to hold the barrier between dimensions. Then the visions changed. He saw cities collapsing under unseen forces, skies turning fiery red, and dark figures rising from the abyss. The guardian's voice continued, human greed and ignorance have always endangered the seal. The Anunnaki tried to educate your species, but you turned their gifts into weapons. You forgot the warnings. And now, the seal is weakening. Why did you allow me to enter here? Marcus asked. I am not a priest, nor a guardian. I am merely an archaeologist. The guardian raised his ethereal arms, and the space around Marcus began to vibrate. You are here because your desire for knowledge has brought you closer to the truth than anyone else. But knowledge comes at a price. You will have a choice to make. Two visions materialized before Marcus. In one, the Ark remained sealed, and the world continued in ignorance, protected by the veil that separated dimensions. In the other, the Ark was fully opened, and the truth about the realms beyond the stars was revealed to all of humanity. But this revelation came at a price, the destruction of the barrier and the risk of freeing those who had been held captive. Choose, Marcus Havlock. But know that once you choose, the path cannot be reversed. Marcus suddenly found himself outside the church of Axum. His body trembled, and his mind was overwhelmed by what he had seen. The light that had escaped from the Ark had disappeared, and the church was quiet again. The custodian, Abba Johannes, stood before him, looking at him with tired eyes. Have you seen enough? The old man asked. Marcus did not answer. He knew that the questions he had no simple answers. But one thing was clear, the Ark was not just a relic. It was a protective mechanism, a seal against forces that defied human understanding. That night, Marcus left Axum, carrying the burden of a secret that no one could fully understand. He knew the truth was too dangerous to reveal. But deep down, he wondered what would happen when the next seeker tried to open the gate. Between myth and reality. Marcus Havlock was no longer the same man who had set out in search of the Ark of the Covenant. The world around him now seemed insignificant, a shadow of a more complex, deeper reality that he had seen and experienced. But the truth he had discovered was not a treasure to share, but a curse to bear. Back in the silence of his London apartment, the archaeologist contemplated the unanswered questions that haunted him. The Ark was more than a relic. It was a barrier, a seal between two realms, a weapon and a gateway at the same time. But who really created it? And what lay beyond the veil? If the Anunnaki were guardians or creators, then who were those shadows the guardian had warned him about? Were they their enemies or something worse? Questions from the depths of history. In an attempt to find answers, Marcus turned his attention to the oldest texts he could access. He began to study more deeply the Sumerian manuscripts, the Codex Salomonis, and even controversial documents considered apocryphal or fantasy. Bizarrely, they all seemed to contain fragments of a common story. The Anunnaki came from the heavens to guide humanity. They created the Ark as a gift, but also as a barrier against a cosmic fire that threatened to consume everything. There were constant references to a gate and to the shadow of fire that had destroyed other worlds before. A Gnostic manuscript, found in the collection of an obscure museum in Berlin, spoke of fallen angels, entities who had been cast out of the great light and imprisoned in a sphere of darkness. Their descriptions were eerily similar to the visions Marcus had had in the interdimensional realm, massive, dark figures made of living shadow, peering beyond time and space. But these fragments of ancient truths did not answer the most important question: why is the seal loosening now? What has changed? As he delved deeper into these enigmas, Marcus began to notice strange events in the international news. Around the world, unexplained phenomena were being reported. A bluish light was seen over a remote region of the Amazon, followed by the mysterious disappearance of an entire village. Sumerian tablets recently discovered in Turkey, containing inscriptions about the opening of the gate and a warning: the shadows are watching. Unexplained earthquakes around ancient archaeological sites, such as Göbekli Tepe and the pyramids of Egypt, where witnesses reported strange sounds similar to the vibrations Marcus heard near the Arkansas. These phenomena seemed to indicate a rupture in the fragile balance between dimensions. But what most terrified Marcus was an anonymous message he received via encrypted email. In the message, someone had written, "The seal is weakening. The guards cannot stop what is coming. Find the hidden Arkansas." But what did the hidden Ark mean? Marcus knew that the Ark of Axum was most likely the original, or at least part of it. However, ancient documents sometimes mentioned replicas, created to fool enemies or to spread the illusion of protection. If there was another Ark, a version hidden in an unknown location, it could be the key to repairing the seal before it was too late. Marcus began to follow every possible clue. The ancient manuscripts spoke of a place called the Realm of Twin Lights, a hidden location somewhere at the confluence of two great rivers. After months of research, Marcus discovered an ancient map, kept in the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, that seemed to point to a region in Mesopotamia. It was a lost place, buried under millennia of sand and oblivion. Increasingly strange phenomena. As Marcus prepared for his expedition to the Middle East, the strange phenomena continued to increase. In a small village in the Himalayas, a group of climbers reported seeing figures of light floating above a glacier. In Siberia, a team of archaeologists disappeared completely after discovering a huge underground cavity believed to have been used by ancient civilizations. The most shocking news, however, came from Ethiopia. The Church of St. Mary of Zion was engulfed in an unexplained fire that destroyed part of the building. The custodian, Abba Johannes, was reported missing, and locals claimed to have seen a huge light rise above the church just before the flames began. Marcus was devastated by the news. If the Ark of Axum had been compromised, then the seal would have been significantly weakened by now. Time was running out. The truth behind the questions. When Marcus arrived in Mesopotamia, he discovered the ruins of an ancient temple, buried deep underground. At the center of the ruin, a massive altar bore inscriptions about the fire that comes from the stars and the lights that hold the keys. But as he explored deeper, Marcus found what he thought was a duplicate ark, a box similar to the one in Axum, but completely different in function. It was then that he understood, the Ark was not just one. There were several, each preserving an aspect of the cosmic seal. If one of them failed, the rest could keep the barrier intact, but not for long. The final question. When Marcus returned to the surface, the sky above the ruins was different. The stars seemed to throb, and the air was weighed down by an invisible weight. In his mind, the guardian's voice rang out again. You have discovered the truth. But the question remains, what will you do with it? The answers will not save you. The truth is not for you. With the duplicate ark in his hands, Marcus looked up at the sky and understood that everything he had discovered was just one piece of an infinite puzzle. Who had come before? What intentions did the shadows from the other dimension have? And, more importantly, was it already too late to stop what was coming? The mystery remains. And for Marcus, the answers he had sought his whole life may be a curse greater than anything he could have ever imagined.